In this video, we'll focus on the weight painting of the character. In level 1, I already gave you the basic recipe for weight painting. Select your rig in object mode, shift select your character. My character consists of multiple meshes and we can only weight paint one at a time, so I'll shift select the body and then we can go to weight paint mode. Now I'm in weight paint mode, but because I selected the rig as well, the bones are available, so I can alt click on a bone and that selects the bone and activates the vertex group. So I can pose my character while painting. To set my weight paint options, I expand the amp panel, I go to tool, I set my brush to add, strength to about 0.2, then go to options and definitely enable auto normalize. On the symmetry, if your character is symmetrical, enable mirror vertex groups and the X option. If it's not symmetrical, then disable both options. And then you'll have to paint the left side and the right side individually. My character is symmetrical, so I'll enable both. And under advanced, if front faces only is enabled, disable it. This will make it easier to paint overlapping geometry. I recommend that you memorize these options or write them down, because this is how I weight paint 90% of the time, and it works really well. But as I said multiple times, my goal at the novice level is to help you gain a better understanding of rigging and not just tell you where to click. I know weight paint is a major area that trips people up, so let's dive deeper into it. So my character is already parented to this armature with automatic weights. Now I'm going to undo automatic weights, and that will give you a better understanding of what happens when you click automatic weights. You cannot undo automatic weights in a single click because it does a couple of things at the same time. First, I'll select all of my objects, press Alt-P and clear parent. Then I'll select any of my meshes, go to modifiers, and if there is an armature modifier, I should delete it. Sometimes unparenting removes the armature modifier, but sometimes it doesn't, so check your meshes. And finally, I have to select my meshes, go to data properties, and I'll find the vertex groups. Vertex groups connect the vertices of the mesh to bones in your rig. And so to completely undo automatic weights, I also have to delete all vertex groups, which can be done from this menu, delete all groups. I'll do it for all objects. Now my meshes are fully unparented from the rig. Before we parent again and start weight painting, let's go to the rig, pose mode, and check if all deforming bones have the deform option and all non-deforming bones have it disabled. I placed all of my deforming bones on the deform collection, so I'll unhide it, select all bones, and I can enable in front. All of these bones need to be deforming. Some of them look like bones and others like shapes, because in this rig, we use certain bones for both deformation and control. In more advanced rigs, you're going to start separating your deform bones and your control bones. But for this level, I decided that this creates too much complexity, so we are skipping it here. The important part to understand here is that even though some of these bones look like shapes, they're still deform bones. So they have the deform option enabled. Okay, now we have all of our deforming bones enabled, and if I want to make sure that all of them are deforming, I can of course go to the bone tab and enable the deform option, but we can also go to pose, bone settings, deform, and set type to enable. Now all of these selected bones will be deforming bones. Click away to deselect all bones and go to the armature tab. Then in bone collections, hide deform bones and unhide controls. Again, on this collection, we have both deforming bones and controls, so we have to be a little bit careful to select only the controls and remove the deforming option from them. If I select the root, for example, I totally forgot to remove its deform option. That is why I'm doing this check. And on my toe pivot, I can also see that it has the deform option. I could almost swear that I removed it, but I guess I didn't. So let's select the root and then shift select the main foot control, all pivot bones, skip the circle, it's the toe and it's a deforming bone. Then shift select this pole target, the torso control, is only a control. And that is it. All other bones are deforming bones. With these bones selected, go to Select, Select Mirror, and enable Extend. That will select the same bones on the right side as well. And then go to Pose, Bone Settings, Deform, and Type will be disabled. So all of these bones will now have the Deform option disabled. Let me just check my MCH bones. The MCH twist bones are deforming, but they're supposed to be deforming, so that's good. So I'll switch to my controls and go to object mode. Now I'm sure that all bones that need to be deforming are deforming, and control and MCH bones are non-deforming. So I can do automatic weights again, and I'll be sure that only the deformed bones will actually deform the mesh. I'll select all objects, shift select the armature to make sure that it's the active object, press Ctrl P, and I'll choose automatic weights. In the outliner, notice how all of my objects disappeared. That is because they became children of the armature object. So they were parented to the armature object. Also, if I select any mesh that I just parented with automatic weights, it will have an armature modifier. The object is set to armature, which is my rig, which means that this mesh will be deformed by that armature. In the previous videos, I also enabled preserve volume, so I'll enable it again. That is specifically for the body. All of the other meshes will not have preserve volume on their armature modifier. And finally, automatic weights edit vertex groups for each deforming bone. So these are perfectly clean vertex groups, meaning that we only have vertex groups that correspond to deforming bones. So by undoing automatic weights and doing it again, I hope you understand what actually happens when you press automatic weights. This is something that even some advanced users miss, and that's why they may stay stuck in the valley of the suck, even though they have some advanced knowledge. Fundamentals are king. Okay, we can finally weight paint, so I'll select my rig and I'll unhide the deformed bones. Then shift select the mesh that I want to weight paint. The main one is the body, and then go to weight paint mode. And now again, I can alt click or alternatively control shift click on bones to activate the vertex groups. My auto normalize, symmetry, and brush settings are all set, so I'm ready to paint. And here, please allow me one more edit of the interface. I'll go to Edit Preferences, Key Map, and also enable Extra Shading Pie Menu items. When I enable this, I can just press Z and control my shading options perfectly from this pie menu. I can go to Material Preview, Solid, Wireframe, and Rendered, and I can also toggle Overlays, which is this button here normally. And I can turn X-ray on and off, which is the same as pressing this button. Here it doesn't do much because we still have the in-front option. So if I disable it and then go to pose mode, then toggling the X-ray option will make the bones see-through or not. Okay, let's go to weight paint mode. And the first thing I want to test is the wrist deformation. And it looks mostly nice. I'll toggle X-ray so that I can see this bone inside, and then alt click it and shift and click to soften these weights a little bit. And then control click at the wrist to remove weights for the main bone from the wrist. And this looks good to me. This is probably one of the most important areas. The arm deforms too much of the upper body. So I need to control and click in the upper body, but these low weights in the body are very hard to see. So in your shading options, expand the special weight paint settings, and for zero weights, enable active. This will make the parts of the mesh that are not affected by this bone at all completely black. So now I can see the low weights here in the body, and I can remove them. And also alt and click on the twist bone and remove any weights from the body. Now we have a very nice deformation. I'm going to Alt and click on the body bone and paint even stronger weights here. Then Shift and click here at the armpit. And that should create very nice deformation in the armpit. For the shoulder, I'm going to remove weights by Control and clicking so that the weights are only on the shoulder. I'll pay special attention to remove weights from the collar. And also this chest bone affects the collar, which will become a problem, so remove weights from it. So now this part of the mesh is getting really nice, so let's move on. Another problematic area is the hips or the crotch. Activate the hips bone, and before we paint, if I Alt and click on the torso bone, you'll see the whole mesh turn purple. This simply means that there is no vertex group associated with this bone, because this bone is just a control. So this is not a problem at all, and if you click on the mesh by accident, it will create a vertex group. Because this bone is not deforming, that is not a problem. This vertex group will simply do nothing. But personally, if that happens, I like to press Ctrl Z and undo so that there is no vertex group for this control. Now let's activate the hips. Control and click in this area to remove weights. And here is what I like to do for the hips. I'll make my brush smaller and start clicking and paint something like red pants in this area, including the crotch. And then on the backside, I'll also create this pants-like paint, and I'll paint on the butt quite a lot. Let's activate the foot control and move it to see what kind of deformations we get. So by painting these pants, we are getting something very nice. I need to shift click in this area just between the hips and the leg. And that will improve the deformation between the two areas even more. Now I activated the thigh, and I'm going to Control click to remove all influence from the body. And then Shift and click on the transition area, and I can remove overlays to see things better, and keep shift clicking. And you'll see how this area becomes very acceptable. Now here we have this bulging, which, as I said, is because of the preserve volume modifier, and we are going to fix this in the next video. It's an important technique. So I'm going to shift click here in this area just to smooth these weights a little bit. Smoothing is very important to create nice transition between the bones, but don't overdo it, because soft weights produce soft deformation, and that can look weird as well. In general, having your weights a little bit harder, which creates intersection between the geometry, is better than having too smooth weights, which fixes the intersections but creates wishy-washy deformations. I'll smooth this area a little bit and test it by rotating the body. I painted a little bit more weights for the spine. And this is starting to look really good. One area that almost always needs attention is the heel. So activate the foot vertex group and paint weights in the heel so that it's perfectly red. Here I'm tweaking the toe groups a little bit, but they're mostly okay. The character's body is in a good shape, so I'm going to call it done. We can do more painting on it, but I cannot show you any technique that I haven't shown you already. Here is a little secret that most people don't know or they don't want to accept. Once you know the basic weight paint workflow, weight painting is just a lot of clicking. Pose your character, notice deformation problems, then add, remove, and smooth weights. There is really no magic to it, just clicking, control clicking, and shift clicking. So next I'm going to focus on some areas that deserve special attention. Let's go to object mode, select the rig, shift select the face, and go to weight paint mode. Activate the head bone. And this always happens. The chin area needs more weights. Now, the weight paint options, weirdly, are saved per object, which means that the head can have different weight paint options than the body. So here I want to enable my mirror options for the head. And I'll control click on the neck and then shift click here to soften this transition a little bit. I'll remove any influence of the neck over the head and shift click a little bit. The neck deformation looks mostly okay. Maybe it deforms this area too much, but the collar and the neck move nicely together. That is because the neck is fully painted red for the neck bone. And if I go back to object mode, select my rig, shift select the body, go to weight paint mode and activate this vertex group, the collar is also fully painted red for the neck bone. Maybe this area needs to be painted a little bit stronger. And here I see something orange as well. And then I'll control click and remove influence from the body so that the neck does not affect the body, and then shift click a little bit to soften this transition, but I'll make sure that the top of the collar is completely red. And now we should have very nice transition. Maybe I'll control click here a little bit so that the neck doesn't deform this area. I'm just clicking, control clicking, and shift clicking to add, remove, or soften the weights. Okay, so this is almost perfect. We have teeth inside the head, and they should be controlled completely by the head. But it looks like they're controlled a little bit by the neck, and when I rotate this control, the teeth poke through the face. We can fix this by painting, by going to object mode, selecting the rig, then shift selecting the teeth, weight paint mode, alt click, activating the neck vertex group, and I can control and click on them and then activate the head and paint them fully red. But I'm going to undo to show you another technique. I can select the teeth, go to data, vertex groups, go to edit mode, select all vertices, and from this menu, choose remove from all groups. This will make it so all vertices are not affected by any vertex group. So the teeth will no longer be affected by any bone. Then again, go to edit mode, select all vertices, and find the head vertex group, select it, make sure that this weight value is set to 1, and click assign. Then go to object mode, and the teeth will jump into place. That is because we assign them fully to the head vertex group. Now, if you want a challenge, select the eyes and the eyelashes, and in any way you like, make sure that they are also assigned 100% to the head bone. Awesome job! And I want to emphasize again that you have learned enough weight painting techniques to paint almost any character. In level 3 of the course, you will learn more, especially about weight painting mechanical models, which you should already kinda be able to do if you paid good attention in this video. But just keep it simple. Remember our base settings, always use auto normalize, and then add, remove, or smooth the weights. That's about it. And now you're very close to graduating from the novice level. In the next video, we'll learn special techniques and modifiers. You will learn what I call the magic modifier when it comes to rigging. We'll touch on some theory that you're going to need in the future, especially if you want to reach intermediate and advanced stages of rigging. As always, we'll keep it nice, simple, and practical. Let's go.